Good morning, Nick. Well, within perhaps 12 hours, all being well, we should have made history today, shouldn't we? Any feelings on that matter?
Yeah, obviously the no platform policy has been rigorously enforced by the far left at British universities for, well, half a lifetime now. And it seems that Oxford is finding some courage to break that. I know that large numbers of ordinary students at universities up and down the country have wanted that broken for a long time. You know, the far left have a semi-terrorist death grip on these things, and it really is historic that I think it's about to be broken.
Yeah, I mean, what do you make of the comments attributed to Julian Lewis, who I think is the Tory Shadow Defence Minister?
Well, Lewis, of course, is a life member of the Oxford Union, which is a debating society. It's not the student union. It's a private debating society of which some students are members and others aren't. And very often people buy a life membership, especially aspiring politicians, which he's done. And it's interesting, this is, of course, he's a Tory, and he's resigned his membership of the union in protest at the fact that they're having me there. Now, the Tory party are saying that they need to address the issues, immigration and so on. They need a proper debate. They need to engage with people and why they vote for us, etc. And yet he's got a senior Tory MP who's got the opportunity, because he's a life member, of coming along, and if he wants, confronting me and shooting the arguments down in flames, etc., etc. And instead of that, he resigns his membership and runs away. And it's pathetic on a personal level, but it also shows the snivelling political correctness of the Tory party these days. All the stuff from Cameron about being tough on immigration and so on, you know the reality when something like this happens.
Yeah, and what do you make of Trevor Phillips on the Andrew Marr show yesterday, who said very patronisingly that students in Oxford are supposed to be brilliant. It's about time they got their brains back in their heads.
I didn't come across that one. Well, obviously it's, Trevor Phillips, he poses at taxpayers' expense as some kind of the elder statesman of the multicultural society, but really and truly he's still a nasty, narrow-minded neo-Leninist inside him, isn't he?
I think you're probably right. I think certainly his ideology is certainly switched towards the left. He is a Labour man. Let's put it like that. That's what he is. He stood as a Labour candidate for the mayoral election. So
indeed he did. Also, but bear in mind on the Leninist point, this is the man who actually has had, or certainly until recently, kept a bust of the mass murderer Lenin on his desk to remind him of how he could do radical things in a piecemeal fashion. Can you imagine if some right-wing Tory MP had a bust of Hitler on his desk? There'd be absolute hell to pay. But Trevor Phillips is there, gobbling taxpayers' money at record rates, and everybody thinks it's fine, he admires Lenin. I think it's a disgrace.
Yeah. Have you any idea what you're going to say? Have you got a framework for how this debate is going to operate yet, or not?
Well, of course, this is the ironic or pitiful thing there. All these leftist spokesmen and Tories likewise are saying that the Oxford Union is providing a platform for me to incite hatred, and I'll be arrested if I say anything illegal and all the rest of it. But it's a forum debate about freedom of speech. So I'm going to be talking about how freedom of speech is the absolute fundamental foundation stone of democracy and a democratic society, and how it means nothing if you only allow freedom of speech to those with whom you agree. It has to be the radical, the unpopular possibly, or certainly the point of view which is outside mainstream orthodoxy. If you don't allow that, then there is no real freedom of speech. I've only got 8 minutes. I'll be looking or mentioning various early medieval scientists who were persecuted and threatened with being burnt at the stake because they insisted on maintaining that the earth wasn't flat, and pointing out that the problem with any generation saying, yeah, well, we have the right, we believe in freedom of speech, but we have the right to stop people saying things if what they say is totally wrong, etc., etc., it's heretical. The problem with that, of course, is that all the fundamental truths of our world at one stage were heretical, and history doesn't stop. And if you allow people with very strong opinions in one generation to stop people expressing peaceful and sensible views, then you've cut off all possibility of progress in the future. And it's obviously something which is very, very dangerous.
Obviously. As for the protesters, it's almost like something out of a Monty Python sketch, isn't it? People shouting fascist, and in that very same process, taking part in a demonstration against democracy and freedom of speech.
It is bizarre, but the far left is a Monty Python sketch, isn't it? This radically fragmented, People's Front of Judea hating the Popular Front for the Liberation of Judea, like respect split down the middle, etc. The whole thing is a Monty Python sketch. That's not surprising that they behave like one.
Yeah. And finally, do you think there's something synonymous here now? I mean, the fact that the left seems to be stuck in this 1970s anti-Nazi, racist, anti-racist time warp. They're on the outside in the rain, and while they've been doing that, we're actually on the inside, aren't we?
We are indeed. There's a very, very good quote from you in The Guardian today saying, "What's all the fuss about? This is the mainstream party in a mainstream university." And that absolutely sums it up. We are, in terms of the views of the public, now mainstream. The other parties, when there's anything connected with immigration and so on, they're dancing around our positions. They're trying to expropriate our language. How can we be mainstream when Gordon Brown steals our slogans? How can we not be mainstream, rather, when Brown steals our slogans? So we're mainstream. The left is just hanging around, as you say, 30, 40 years out of date, still mouthing the same old platitudes and shibboleths and hatred. And I think all this would have done would have been to draw the attention of an even bigger section of the British public to the fact that there's something really different about the British National Party from the other parties at a time when the biggest thing that politicians have as a problem is people thinking, well, and saying, you're all the same, I'm not interested. And they've done us a huge favour, not the Oxford Union, they've just done what's sensible and right and democratic. But the far left, by screaming about this so much, I think they've done us a huge favour by making even more people aware of us, aware of the fact that we've got something different to offer. I'm sure that the hit rates on our website will have gone through the roof, and it'll lead to fresh, not a vast wave, but a fresh, useful wave of new recruits, new sympathisers and voters. So it's all good stuff.
It certainly is, and one very last point, we know the left of old, and what they'll do now, I think, is a damage limitation exercise. They'll try and cause trouble with a view to try and getting us the bad headlines, won't they?
I'm sure they will, if they can get themselves their 1,000 people plus, and unless the police are very, very firm with them, I think they'll cause significant trouble down in Oxford tonight. There'll be arrests, and then it'll be 15 arrests as British National Party leader speaks in Oxford, and the attempt will be to make it sound as though it's our people getting arrested, as though it's our fault, when in point of fact, if the left weren't there, there'd be no problem at all. I'll make no bones about it. We're taking a good security team there this evening to make sure that if the police abandon their responsibilities, as sometimes they do, then we can make sure that we get in and out in one piece. And I hope very much that won't happen. As long as the police do their job, then we'll leave all the policing to them.
Yeah. Okay, that's great. Much more on this later, no doubt. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks so much, Simon.
Cheers. Bye.